Hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. Man, I love that new intro. I'm here with Yori Narpati. How are you doing, Yori? Thank you so much for joining us again.
I'm so good, thank you. Hi everyone, it's me again.
Again, because we're doing a two-part series. So we were lucky enough to have you for an hour and a half this time last week on Adobe Live. It was awesome. We did so much illustration. It was more of a scene, and you've got something different in store for us today, which was awesome. We'll get to that very, very soon. Great to see some people in chat, some friendly faces. Jesse's in chat, Andrew Hockriddell, that was awesome. I hope you guys have been checking out the creative challenge that he's been running for all of last week and all of this week. It's been amazing. Johanna in chat, sorting us out. So we're over on behance.net/live for the next hour and a half. Time is ticking already. If you're anywhere else watching this, like over on YouTube, if you want to join the chat, ask questions as we're going along, please jump over to behance.net/live and say hello. Let us know where you're from, what you're up to. I'm just going to very quickly, before I promised Yuri that we give him more time than we did last time, so I'm just going to very quickly get to our schedule. Here we are. It's Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Whoops, that's a typo. With Yori, and tomorrow we have a final live stream for the week at 10:30 a.m. in the morning with Ramez. So we're going to be doing some photo manipulation. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to you now, Yori, to kind of give us a bit of an idea of what we'll be up to today.
Oh, cool. Sounds good. So I guess if you watched the last one that we did last week, I mostly did environment design. So I did like a full illustration with like a character in the background. And then I did a poll on my Instagram to ask what you guys would be interested in me doing for this week. And you guys asked me to do characters. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I haven't actually been doing a lot of character work lately since in my current job, I'm actually a background painter. So I've been doing a lot of environments, but designing characters has always been my primary passion. That's actually the first thing that drew me into animation and design and art in the first place is character design. So it's something that I'm very passionate about and something that I do really enjoy doing. So I'm really happy to do that today. I guess I can start by showing you some of my older work. Since I was working last year in a studio in Sydney called Cheeky Little, I mentioned this last week as well. And I was doing a lot more of character work. I was doing a lot of turnarounds for the show that they were developing. And I even got to design some characters as well for another show, a smaller show that they're doing as well. And that was really fun. But I haven't been doing that a lot lately. But I guess I can show you, and I can't really show any of that in here as well. So I can show you some of my older work and my personal work and just kind of show you the process that I go through when I do character illustrations.
Oh, yes.
So do you want to?
That will be awesome. And I was gushing last week about the avatar illustrations and character drawing that you were doing. And I noticed that Ang has gone up between, I think, last time we had a chat. So it's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit as well a bit later. But I guess I can show you, I don't know, I guess we can go through my Instagram really quickly before we dive into some of my older stuff. So this is some of the stuff that I've been doing lately, which has been very self-indulgent, and it's fan art, and it's just really fun stuff because it's just me just doing stuff for myself for fun. So and I do enjoy doing stuff like this because it's just I don't know, it's good practice for myself, and it's also fun to do as well. But I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that I did in uni, and it's very different from the stuff that I do now. So I guess I can show you. I mentioned that I had a honors film that I did with my partner Erica Ju and Quinn Trong. for my honors year, and I got to do most of the designs, well, all of the designs actually, for the characters and the environments as well. So I guess I'm going to be showing you some of like the designs for those now. So as you can see, like it's very different from like kind of like the style that I'm doing now. And it's mostly because like at uni, they really push you to do like just like more different things, just experiment a lot. And so this is like the design that I came up with, and yeah.
Wow. And where
Yeah,
did
so
this,
like
where
of
did this
course,
style come from? Like that kind of elongated like legs? Like where does that style come from? Is it from reference, or do you just start drawing and it comes out naturally?
it's yeah. I'll show you like my process. I've got like a PDF like with all like the sketches that I did previously before I
Okay.
got to this design.
I'm jumping
But
ahead. You're so prepared. I'm just jumping
don't
ahead.
worry about
Sorry.
it. No, it's okay. But yeah, so this is like the kind of stuff that I was doing in uni, and this is the stuff that they wanted us to experiment with, and it was really good for me to just like kind of like try different things, because I'm really comfortable with kind of like the style that you see in my like on my Instagram. Like that's probably the style that I most like I enjoy the most. But yeah, I don't know. It looks very different.
So cool.
I can show you like yeah. So this is what this is what we go through like when we design a character. We kind of just start sketching, just do a lot of iterations, and usually the character end up looking very different at the end. But we mostly play around with shapes and kind of just like the idea of like what we want the character to look like and what we want the audience to see when they see the character. So I guess like this is both my sketches and also my partner, which is Erica Ju. So yeah, I don't know. Like I guess as you can see, like in this one, I'm trying to, because these two girls are the same character but just like different ages, and I'm trying to convey that,
Right.
kind of like change the design, but keep it like familiar enough so that you can tell that it's the same character. Yeah, and then we also did like at uni we did like a pitch Bible assignment, in which we have to design for like a fake like TV show, and we have to design like the characters for those as well. And this is also like, I guess like you can say it's like a similar style to what I had like for my honors film, and it's like really stylized. You can see like the silhouettes very distinct. So this is like it's like just some like character poses to show you like what kind of a character they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the stuff that I do like for myself for fun is usually stuff like this. So it's kind of similar, but it's more detailed and they have like more human proportions. This is the stuff that I enjoy the most, I guess. And yeah, usually when I'm doing stuff for myself, like I either do fan art or like I do like original characters. But I think doing fan art is a good way to just practice without thinking so much about the design. Like in this case, I watched the Broadway show of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in Sydney, and I really enjoyed their costumes. And so I tried to translate that design. I mean, like the design like on stage to like a more cartoon version of the characters. And I hope that kind of, I don't know, I hope that translates well. You can see that I've still kind of played around with like exaggerated shapes, but it's less exaggerated than the stuff that I showed you before, which was like the designs I did for uni. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Just a couple of people in chat. Yeah, Richard saying, wow, great illustrations. Yeah, Festus, wow, these are great. Jesse saying the exaggeration of form is so brilliant. Yeah, so it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm more self-indulgent stuff. I love Animal Crossing. I've been playing that like a lot since like COVID started. And yeah, so this is like another thing of trying to translate like like, because Animal Crossing, they're all just animals, right? So I'm trying to translate them into like their human form. And it's interesting because they have very distinct shapes. So it's fun for me to kind of like try to capture like the essence of like their shape. So you can still kind of know like which characters are which, but I've kind of like redesigned them in like my own style. And it's kind of, it's good practice, like, because I feel like a lot of people struggle a lot with like finding their own style and like, kind of like finding their own voice. And I think, I don't know, doing like these kind of studies or just like fan art for fun is like, it's like good practice, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess like those are like the kind of stuff that I did. This is also for uni as well. This is kind of like this is like a really wacky character, but as you can see, like I did like a whole bunch of like really like crazy sketches,
Wow.
just to like get to that design because like we really wanted to come up with something like really different. Like I know this is like I don't really do this stuff like much anymore, but that's usually like the amount of sketches that I do is just like pages and pages of sketches and iterations, and try to not be precious about your like drawings. Yeah, that's kind of like my process.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Oh, it's super cool. I don't know what to say. It's just like even like your sketches are just super interesting. Like it's so amazing how you can see the character just in so many different poses, but like clearly still the character. And taking the Animal Crossing characters and then thinking what would they look like? Like how might they look if they were like much more humanoid, like rather than the animals, is such an interesting like kind of creative take. And it's always good to combine like something you're really enjoying, something like Animal Crossing, or whatever it might be, with like something that's actually like helping you practice and train and something that's super fun. So that's awesome. Great to see.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess like some of the things that I guess I always keep in mind when I'm designing a character is, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, like character designers, I guess know about this. Is like silhouette. I guess I'll just bring that back up. Like I guess with these, like I think the first thing that you have to like keep in mind when you design a character is you have to be able to recognize the silhouette of the character, just the character by just looking at the silhouette. Because then it's like that it's like that character is very distinct, and I think that's like one of the things that I always try to keep in mind when I'm designing. Also, like having like good balance, like having like good weight distribution when you're drawing, especially when a character is standing up. Even when a character is like leaning back quite far, you have to make sure that kind of like the head and like the feet are aligned in like one line, so that that the weight is like right. Those are just like some small things that I always try to keep in mind when I'm drawing, I guess. I can talk more about that while I'm drawing the character for today. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, great. Well, I guess we're about to get started. So feel free to ask questions as we're going along. But we might collect questions as well. So we have a Q&A. We have a little timer. So in 30 minutes, we're going to have a break. So Yuri gets a break, but also throw your questions in, and yeah, we'll take a little bit of a break and ask some questions as we're going in. But yeah, throw your questions in chat. And again, if you've just joined us, we are over at behance.net/live. That's the chat we're using today. So if you're watching on YouTube or anywhere else, jump over there, say hello. Feel free to throw in questions as we're going along.
Cool. So should we get started on the actual like drawing part?
Yeah. Yep. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I guess I'll talk a little bit about like how I come up with like when I'm having like an art block and how I come up with ideas. I guess like with this demo, like I wasn't sure like what kind of character that I could do in like 1.5 hours. Probably even less because we have the Q&A. So usually what I do is I go to like a random generator online, and I kind of just like, I don't know, try to generate random characters and see if I like any of those. Another thing that I used to do with my sister is that I would have like jars with like different like pieces of paper with like prompts in them, and I would just like take one and just try to design a character based on that. In this case, I was like looking at this picture of my family in like this like Dutch like traditional clothing, and that's me.
Wow. Is that
right
you?
there? So yeah, that's me.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
So that's what I'm gonna be referencing today, just for fun, because I just wanted this to be like a very simple demonstration that's just like kind of fun. So I'll keep that reference board there. As I mentioned last week, that's always an important first step whenever you're designing anything, is to have lots of reference. I would usually have way more, but for this demo, I'll just have this one page. Yeah, so I'll get a start on the sketch then.
Awesome.
All right, so I'll jump on to this.
yeah, lots of comments and on obviously talking about how fantastic your work is as well. Like
Thank
Brenda
you.
was saying, really love the interpretation of Animal Crossing characters. You really capture their essence perfectly. Sensational style. It's a great tip on the weight distribution as well, because that little tiny detail really makes or breaks the character.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, I totally agree. And the silhouette, I think I have heard one person mention silhouette before. That's such a great tip. That the character needs to be recognizable, even as a silhouette. That's really clever. And are you using any particular brush or anything, or just a kind of standard brush here to do your sketches?
I'm using the same brush that I mentioned last week, which is the Kyle T. Webster brushes, just a pencil one. It's this one. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so that's the one that I'm using.
Nice.
Yeah, like I mentioned last week, I pretty much only have like a handful of brushes that I always go to whenever I'm drawing anything. Like initially, I tried a whole lot of different brushes, like just throughout, I guess. But now that I've kind of like found the ones that I really enjoy using, I kind of just stuck with them. And yeah, I don't really see the point of like, I guess like changing it. So yeah, hopefully I can finish this on time today. I've tried to keep it like very simple, just for the purpose of just like showing how I sketch, and also just like how I like do the colors and everything.
Yeah, for sure. I'm torn between like wanting to ask you questions and then also like slowing you down. So yeah, Johanna's reminding me about Adobe Live Bingo, where we basically every other stream someone will mention Carl T. Webster and his brushes. So yeah, very popular brush. built into Adobe now, which makes it a lot easier.
Which is great, yeah.
Makes it a lot easier.
Because I've been using his brushes like long before it was integrated, but ever since it was, like, it's just made it so much easier.
Yep. Brenda in chat is saying prompt jar is a really fun way to really fun exercise for character design. I've tried it and it really helped me improve my skill. Yeah, that's a really cool one. I love the using just an online generator as well.
Yeah, that too as well.
Great. Yeah.
Especially when you're just designing for yourself, just like for practice. Yeah, it's really convenient.
So let us know, chat as well. Like, do you have any other tips that you use, or any other techniques that you use, like so you're not just staring at like a blank kind of screen or blank piece of paper, like anything like the prompts?
Nope. Another thing that I do, which I'm doing right now, when I'm doing like just like the sketching phases, I do use like the distort and skew tools in Photoshop to help with just like adjusting and, I don't know, just making the pose more dynamic. Because sometimes, like, I don't know, you have that, so might as well use it. I mean, you can't do that when you're sketching like in an actual sketchbook. That's why I like digital art. I don't know, it just helps you, I guess. And also just if like, I also like to kind of just do a couple passes on my sketches. So if I don't like how this looks, I'll kind of just trace over it, but just exaggerate it just a little bit. I think that also helps. And also just using like a lot of reference and doing a lot of like gesture drawings, I guess.
And I know this question will come up, so I'll just ask it now, is what device are you using? Like, are you using a stylus of some kind?
Oh yeah, I'm using Cintiq 22 HD.
Yeah.
Been using this for a while now. Like the first tablet that I picked up was like a Wacom Intuos 4. That was the one that's just they didn't have like the fancy screen and everything. It was just a tablet.
I think I had.
That was the
I
first
think I
one.
had the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Do you remember what the prompt website was that you used, like the auto generator or anything? Do you remember what that was?
Honestly, I just keep changing. Like whatever is like on the top of like my Google search, I'll just use that one because like it kind of helps with like just keeping it random. Like just whatever comes up, I kind of just draw based on that.
Yeah.
Or look at old family pictures. I don't know. Yeah.
Speaking of Kyle Webster, saying Jesse was saying in chat, I've listened to an episode of Make It Then Tell Everybody where Kyle said he'd love to work for Adobe a few years ago, and now he does. That's right.
Yay, that's cool.
He does a lot of Adobe Live as well, so I hope you guys have seen his Adobe Live sessions.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome, and he makes fun of the audience quite a lot as well. So he'll start drawing something, gets everybody to guess it, and then he turns it into something else, which is really playful and fun way to roll.
That's cool.
D&D characters and assets are also really good to draw. That's pretty cool because there's so much like lore and history and story, really great storytelling in D&D. So that's a really good one as a prompt of something to draw if you're stuck for ideas.
I think honestly, just like whatever you enjoy, you can definitely turn it into a prompt. Because if you like it enough, you're gonna want to draw it, and if you're lacking motivation, just do that.
Johanna's sharing some art prompts in chat. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Artprompts.org. Interesting. Yeah, it's so good because it can be one of those challenging things, right? Like staring at a blank screen or blank piece of paper. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to draw?
Yeah.
I know with writers as well, it can be quite difficult staring at that blank thing. I like that trick. So how many passes would you normally do with your sketching?
Probably 2, or I don't know, 3 maybe, and then I go straight to line art. I don't know, it just depends. Like if I'm happy with how it looks from like the get-go, then I would just kind of like stick with it.
I've seen people do their sketching in blue, like blue lines, and like gray or like black with a transparency. But yours looks like brown or red. Is there a reason why?
I kind of just pick. I always either sketch in blue or red. I guess I've just kind of like picked like a random color. Like I rarely sketch with black, just because it's just easier for me to differentiate when I'm doing like the line art.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So I feel like most people do that as well.
What about you, chat? Any illustrators out there? Do you do blue lines, or do you pick a color as well? Definitely seen people use gray, but it does make sense, like when you move on to line art, that you would want to have a different color.
So I'm just kind of using the second pass as like just a way to fix some stuff that I didn't like in the first sketch. It's just very small things, just to help me when I'm actually doing the line art. Because when I'm doing line art, I kind of just want to focus on the quality of the line instead of like the actual design. Like I want to kind of finish all the just like the hard hard parts, like just like the initial stages, which is the hardest.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned in the last time when we got to kind of putting the color in, that's when you can just like put on a show or put on music and kind of drift away and paint, because
definitely
you've done all the thinking already, as I think you were saying, and now it's just a matter of kind of it's a little bit more manual, like it's a little bit more, you can kind of tune out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Color in, which sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's very relaxing.
So Jesse dropping some knowledge. Red and blue pencils are what Disney animators used to separate from line
Yeah,
art.
the non-photo blue pencils. When I'm drawing on paper, I use some color erase blue pencils. They're really good.
That's what Jesse's mentioned in here as well. Look at that. That's cool.
Yeah.
They're easy to rub out or remove.
It's like when you scan it, like it's not gonna come up. So if you've done a sketch and then you've done like line art over it and you scan it, you're not gonna see the blue lines because it's non-photo blue. So that's very convenient. But I don't like do traditional very often nowadays, so I don't really use it anymore. I've still got like 3 boxes of like those pencils in like my cupboard. But yeah, they're very good.
So just a question about exaggerating characters. Brenda's asking, in terms of exaggerating a character's form, do you have any tips on how to do it correctly?
I guess I wouldn't say that there's like a correct way to exaggerate a character. Like there's a whole lot of different ways you can do it. Kind of like if you're looking at caricatures, you look at kind of like the biggest, like the most obvious thing about like a person's face, like the thing that's more like the most recognizable, and then you start with that, I guess, and kind of exaggerate it little by little. This is kind of like what I talked about with like having a couple passes of like the sketch phases to kind of just like exaggerate things as you go. Like if like say like with this pose, I probably could exaggerate it just a little bit more. Like if I would have her like maybe like lean. Sorry, let me just. Nope, that's the wrong one. So like for example, like if I want this to be like even more exaggerated, I can probably do that, but I'm not going to. But that's kind of like how I do it. Is like I kind of just like try to kind of like do a couple different passes and then exaggerate the pose or exaggerate the shape from there. So if I want to make this like even more exaggerated, I can just do it from there. So that's kind of like how I did it, like how I usually do it. I would just kind of like take like the previous sketch, lower the opacity, and then kind of like make it even more, I don't know, exaggerated. Yeah, but I'm just gonna keep it right here.
Cool.
Okay. So how much time do we have until Q&A?
13 minutes until a Q&A.
Cool. Well, I can start with the line art, and hopefully I can finish by then. Probably not.
Depends how many questions I throw in. I do have a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you
You can go ahead.
approach clothing and costuming with characters? Do you keep reference boards to maintain
Um.
accuracy, or draw whatever feels right? Question from Johanna in chat.
It, okay. Well, it depends on like what the character is, I guess. If it's like something just like in modern day, with just like normal clothing, like of course I'm still gonna look up references, but I won't be like referencing anything too heavily because like I have like a library in my head of just like clothing that I like. But if it's like something like, for example, like this, like what I'm doing now is like, oh, it's like a traditional like Dutch kind of like clothing, then I would definitely put up references and kind of just reference it from there because it does really help. So.
So this is moving on to the line
Yep.
art, like much more intentional kind of final line, like line work, right? So we moved on from the sketching
Yep.
phase. Yeah. And you're using the same pencil? I may have asked you last time. Hey, we might have some new people here as well. So, but yeah, you're using the same Carl T. Webster pencil for this part of the line work?
No, actually, I'm using something different for once. This is like a custom brush that I've kind of just made by myself, I guess. Well, it's I think I might have taken it from somewhere else and then I modified it like by a lot.
Right.
But yeah, this is kind of like a custom brush that I've done myself. And I guess like in terms of line art, I do have like a couple different brushes that I use. But this is probably like the most like the one that I use the most, just because I like kind of like the grading texture. Like I don't really like doing like super clean like sharp lines. I kind of like having a little bit of texture when I'm doing lines, just because it looks more organic.
I like that you've had so many different brushes, like probably from all sorts of different sources, like on hand that you don't even know where this one like actually originated from. It's probably a hybrid of downloaded, changed,
Exactly.
morphed. That's cool. Is that something you do a lot of? Like, have you customized many brushes?
I think any brush that I use, I would definitely like customize it, even just by a little bit. Just because I think everyone's used to like a certain feel, and even if even if it's like a really good brush, you're gonna have to adjust it to suit like I guess your preferences.
Yeah. Selena, yes. I was wondering why there was no comments on YouTube. Yeah. So we're using this chat over on behance.net/live. So if you want to jump in and ask questions, we're like 9 minutes away from Q&A. Hey, that rhymes. 9 minutes away from Q&A. I never realized that. We'll be asking some more questions as we're going along. So you can get them in chat. We'll ask. Do you always do your line work with black?
Yes, and then I would color it afterwards, just because it's easier.
Right. So you keep the line work on a different layer, and then you can just quickly manipulate it.
You just lock transparent pixels, and then you just recolor it to whatever you want.
good questions for our Q&A. So I'm gonna start hanging on to some of them, I think.
Cool.
Getting like an animated Sound of Music vibes for some reason. How's that music level, guys? I hope that's all right. Playing around with some new albums lately.
Sounds good. How much time do we have until like after the Q&A?
After Q&A, well, my math is terrible, Yori. So
Me too.
which is why our timer's always like really like off. Like every now and then we'll do Q&A break like when like 2/3 through, and then I'm like, oh no, we've only got 15 minutes left. Let's don't do it. We're pretty good. So it's 1:07 now. And yeah, we finish in about 50 minutes. So we've got a Q&A and we've got 50 minutes left, a little bit less than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I sometimes do my math wrong because it's like 90 minutes. It's like 85 minutes of content. And then I need to, yeah. I confuse myself. Math is hard.
Yep.
Music is great. That's good. Testing out new tunes. That is good. But yeah, throw your questions in. We'll probably have a tighter Q&A today, guys. So throw them in. We'll get to what we can before we jump back into part 2. I might take this moment to just sort of mention our Discord again. So if you want to hang out with us outside of when we're live, we have a Discord server. So we just kind of hang out there. There's been some illustration challenges going on in there as well, sharing of work.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it is heaps of fun. We sometimes do little just kind of internal group live streams. Johanna does a lot of those. So if you want to jump in there, share your work, say hello, find out when we go live as well. So that's something you can do. Johanna will probably share a link for that in chat as well if you guys want to join in and hang out with us.
Try my best to like readjust like my camera, but it seems like you probably can't see my face very well. It's just like the side of my head. Sorry.
No. That's it's the live streaming with an illustrator using it in Cintiq. Top of the head live stream special. It's definitely something that happens a lot because when we're chatting, obviously looking at the camera when we do our Q&A, but then when you're working away, head down and looking down at your monitor, which is flat, right? So yeah. Just 3 minutes till Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. Drawing with a tablet improved my hand-eye coordination more than playing basketball. Definitely takes a lot of skill, a lot of practice, a lot of muscle memory. Just 1 minute left until Q&A. Oh, and look at that. We at Q&A. We don't have to jump in right now. So if you want to finish off, or if you want to jump in, it's up to you. You tell me.
Oh, we can just jump in. I'm almost done with the line art as well. Okay. I guess. All right. I'm just gonna save.
Saving is always good. Is that the first time you saved?
No. I've saved a couple of times. All right, cool.
We've done full live streams before where chat starts to get like really anxiety by the end, because they're like, oh my god, we've got like 100 layers or so, and the guest hasn't saved yet, and everyone's like, please save.
Oh wow.
Please save.
Yeah.
So yeah. Shannon says, hello, Yori. Brenda's asking, do you have a favorite brush that you use often in the drawings? We spoke about a couple of them. So we spoke about the Carl T. Webster brush that you use, and that one that you've customized. But yeah, any other favorite brushes that you use?
Oh, I guess not really. Like, that's pretty much all I use. I think I mentioned last week that especially when I'm doing like environment illustrations and I have to do like a lot of shading, I only use like the round like standard brush with like 0 hardness, and that's pretty much all I use. And to sketch, I use the pencil brush from Carl T. Webster, and for line art, I kind of have my own like little custom brush that I already I don't know, customized, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. The mystery brush of unknown origins.
It's a secret recipe.
Secret recipe. I love it. Festus was asking in chat, have you ever considered doing a coloring book with the figures or just the outlines? Or yeah, have you ever considered doing a coloring book at all?
That's actually an interesting thing, because I've actually been offered to do a coloring book for like last week I mentioned that I worked for Disney Hyperion once for the Percy Jackson series, and they actually asked me to do like a coloring book for that series, but sadly I had to decline because I was still at uni and I was very busy, and it was like just like I don't know, like 70-100 pages of just like full line art. It's just like so much work, so I didn't get to do it. But yeah, I would definitely love to do like maybe like a coloring book in the future, like, because I do enjoy doing line art. It's really fun. Like, I haven't done it as much lately because I've been doing a lot of environments, and I prefer doing environments just like kind of like lineless, like in this like lineless style. But for characters, yeah, I definitely enjoy doing line art. So yeah, maybe that'll be cool.
What about like doing a children's book or something like that? Is that something you've considered doing, like with all your illustrations?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I do have like a collection of children's books, like just like on my bookshelf, just because they have very interesting styles. And I just like to collect them, and yeah, just like use them for like like style references and things like that. So yeah, definitely. Like, I would love to do like a children's book at some point in my life. Like, I don't know. I'm not a very good writer, but like I could always collaborate with someone else. So
Yeah, absolutely. You could always collaborate with people. I think there's no shortage of people that would love to work on that stuff. I think anybody I know that ever has a kid that's a designer or creative at any time goes, I'm going to do a children's book. So it does seem like everyone's super.
It's definitely on my bucket list. So yeah, hopefully one day.
And as someone that has like a 1.5-year-old daughter, there's some amazing children's book and there's some awful children's books as well. So
that is true.
There's some pretty terrible stories in there. So jumping to a couple of these questions, how do you capture the character's essence in your drawings? Can you share any experience on that? That question was from Brenda.
Okay. Well, I guess like it's kind of difficult to explain, but I guess that's again like kind of like going back to like fan art. It's just like that's why they're so fun to do, just because you've watched the characters, you love them, and you know like their personalities. So it's really fun to kind of like try to capture like their personality. I guess like in terms of if you're doing your own characters, some things that I do keep in mind is using like shapes and colors to help convey the characteristics of that character. So for example, like this is like a very cliche thing that a lot of character designers say. It's like, oh, if you're doing like a friendly character, then you do like a kind of like more rounded shapes. If you're doing like a villain's character, then you do like pointed shapes. But you can also use that to your advantage by subverting expectations and like maybe have like a rounded character be evil and have like a sharp looking character be very nice. So I think that's an interesting way to go about it as well. In terms of kind of like finding like the soul of the character, I think like all the characters that I've drawn, I've kind of put a little bit of myself in them. So I've kind of like tried to picture myself as that character. Like if they're like a very like grumpy or like very angry character, then I kind of try to channel that part of myself that's very grumpy and very angry and kind of try to put myself in that character. And that way, I don't know, I feel like you can kind of like create poses, create expressions that are more in line with how would like you would present yourself, I guess. So that's how I do it. Yeah.
And do you ever have a camera or a mirror like sitting there and you really want to draw something grumpy and you're just like grumpy face?
I would like whenever I'm drawing like just like expressions, like I would subconsciously just like, I feel like a lot of people do this as well. Like I would like make like just like weird faces while I'm drawing. It's just subconsciously, like I would do that. Or I would like have a mirror or like have my phone and I would like take a picture of myself and then reference it. Same thing with like animation as well. Like I would like just take a video of myself just acting it out and I would reference it as well. So yeah.
That's so great. I love the idea of people walking past the desk and just like angrily drawing.
Yeah, just angrily drawing. Yeah.
There was a question in there before. Oh, sorry, just actually, this one's probably more appropriate because we're chatting about the shapes. Jesse was asking, how do you figure out what shapes to use for the character, e.g. like long oval, triangles, etc., while keeping it looking organic? So you spoke to us about like triangles might be, sharp angles, might be, someone angry or and round for characters. But how do you try to keep it kind of organic at the same time?
I guess I guess I see a lot of people, like including myself, but sometimes I'm very guilty of this as well, is to just draw characters very symmetrically. But if you notice, like even like if you know like the thing that people do, if like they just kind of like split their faces and then like flip them over, so it's like the same side of your face like but twice, and it looks really weird like when you do that, like totally. Or it can look like two very different people. I guess it kind of helps if you kind of like introduce like non-symmetry, I guess, to your drawings. It just helps to make it look more organic and not so like rigid. Even if you have a very symmetrical looking character, you can help by kind of like introducing like a more dynamic pose. And that just really helps, just like the posing and the staging of the character as well. If you have to do like a very like, I don't know, like neat, very symmetrical looking character, I think that really helps.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe one more question. Go on.
Oh, just one like really quick kind of like example is that I mentioned like Leica characters last week as well, that I love like their character designs, is because when you look at their designs, they don't have like the same size eyes on both sides of their faces, or sometimes like their faces are like a bit skewed, and that really helps to add character compared to something like, I mean, I love Disney, like I love Pixar movies, but their characters are getting kind of bland like lately. It's just like they're very neat, they're very kind of like perfect shape, like And I think, yeah, having something like that really helps. So yeah, look up like character designs. They're very good.
Nice, awesome, that's great. And maybe, yeah, so like I said, maybe one more question so we can give you enough time. Do you have any tips or tricks for consciously evolving your style? Have you ever have you approached finding how have you approached finding the one you have now? So yeah, we're talking about style a little bit before. Yeah, any tips or tricks on evolving your style?
Oh, this is like a whole other discussion. Like I feel like I've got so much to say about like style, I guess, because it's something that I've always struggled with. But I guess like a lot of people, I'll start off by saying that I feel like I get a lot of like advice from people that says like, oh, you have to learn how to do like realism or observational drawings or like really realistic proportions first in order to stylize or like do cartoons. But I feel like that's not true. Because I feel like once you kind of get into doing realism for a long time, is going to be really hard for you to jump into doing stylistic drawings. And so the best way I feel like is to do it in tandem, is to do it together. And that's what I did in uni as well. I had like life drawing classes alongside my design classes where I get to experiment with shapes and kind of just like very like weird characters, as you can see like from the work that I showed you earlier. Like it's very like, it's kind of like really like weird, very different kind of style. So yeah, that's kind of like, I guess, another thing is, this is like a, like not so secret, but I used to have like a sketchbook, just my like personal secret sketchbook where I just copy drawings from like people that I like. So if I like a certain character designer, I would just like look up their page and just copy their drawings onto my sketchbook, but like no one gets to see them because obviously like it's not good to copy drawings, like that's bad. Don't steal drawings, people, but like use it to just kind of like learn and develop your own style, because I feel like everyone kind of copies at some point. It's kind of inevitable because there's just so much out there. It's really hard. It's really difficult to come up with something like super original. But if you kind of like mix and match a couple different styles that you do enjoy and you do like, you're gonna come up with something on your own. And I feel like every artist, like everyone usually have a tendency to draw in a certain way anyways. So even if you try to draw in a certain person's style, you're gonna come up with your own style like accidentally. Like that's kind of like how. Yeah, just naturally, it's just gonna come by itself. So I guess like with what I'm doing now, I'm just kind of like following, like kind of like my instincts, like what's most comfortable with like my own hand, like when I'm drawing. Like I'm not trying to force myself so much to draw in a certain way, or like, you know, like in uni, I was like, okay, you're not supposed to draw this way because it's very generic, or like it's very like Disney or like very cartoony in a certain way, and they really push us to kind of like experiment, and that's really great. But I feel like eventually you're gonna kind of like revert back to like what you're most comfortable with and like the thing that you like the most, and that's okay. Like I don't know, I feel like that's totally fine, and that's legitimate as well. So yeah.
Great. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, there were still some more questions, but I think we've got to jump in, and I might sneak in a couple of these questions as we're going, see how we go. But yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for the great questions, guys, and the awesome answers, Yori. So we can jump back over and give you a little bit more time to work on this piece.
Cool. All right.
So, clicking back to your screen now. Yeah, there we go.
So I don't know if I should continue with like doing like the line art, or I should just jump into colors, just because of like the time constraints.
I'll let you know that we've got half an hour left.
Okay, so I guess it's probably best to just like go straight into color then, because I've already, yeah. Yay, it's done.
So this is one you prepared like earlier, like using the exact same process, but when you had more time and not me asking you a million questions.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the line art. I've kind of like separated out some of the things just because they're overlapping, but it's basically just the same process as like earlier. And so I'm going to start with the colors.
Awesome. Where did the duck come from? I'm very happy for the duck.
Oh, yep. That's like another benefit to doing like line art, is that you can just like fill color very easily. As you can see that what I did just there.
So when you're doing the line art, are you always trying to close the path? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely just like block out shapes and like fill them with like the paint bucket if it's like a bigger kind of like area. But if it's like a face or something smaller, then I would just kind of manually go in and color it.
Why is that? Why would you not just fill that in with the paint bucket?
I don't know. I guess it's just easier for me to just do it this way, especially if it's like a smaller area. Then I would kind of just do it this way. I've got everything. I'll separate out all the colors, so like the skin, the hat, the hair, everything, just so that I can overlap it, and it's easier for me to adjust or delete if I don't like how it looks.
Right.
And so instead because you can just do like as many layers as you want in Photoshop, so that's kind of like a benefit, I guess.
Because you're thinking that you might fill it in now, but tonally or from the colors you might want to change all of the skin color just immediately. So you can just do it.
I can just exactly. So I can just lock it and I can just like recolor it very quickly.
And at this stage, you're just kind of like picking colors from the color picker. Is there anything kind of driving the color choices that you're making, or are you just kind of picking what feels right?
I guess like with like colors, I haven't really talked about that. Like with characters, like I wouldn't really choose more than like maybe like 5 colors for like a character, just because I feel like it would just get a bit confusing. I guess like going back to like, I'm gonna talk about Avatar again. Even like if you look at Avatar, even if you look at Avatar, like they've kind of like color coded like the nations by color, like all water is blue, obviously, like fire is red, and that really helps kind of like characterize just like the like the personality or the characteristics of each of the nations, or even the characters. It's very easy to kind of like pick out, okay, well, this is like red is like angry, so like obviously like that character is very grumpy and angry, like stuff like that, I guess. So I wouldn't really pick more than, I don't know, like I said, like maybe 3 to 5 colors for each of the characters. In terms of like picking colors, sometimes it does come instinctually, and I would just kind of like pick out whatever feels right, or I would reference and kind of just look at the colors and just copy the colors from there.
And I know we've talked about brushes a lot today, but is this a different brush again? It looks like it's a different shape.
It's got more of a hard edge, and yes, it's just so that it's just easier for me to keep it neat underneath the line art. Yeah, I guess like at this point, it's just really about filling everything in. And then I'll just adjust it as I go and see if I like how it looks. But yeah, this is like a really relaxing, easy part of it.
Yeah, totally. And that's what you're saying before, right? Like in the last stream, and we were chatting about in this one, is you've done all the line work. You've kind of done all that kind of creative sort of thinking part. Like you've got the structure down, done the line work, and now it's this kind of somewhat comparatively manual process.
Yeah.
Sanjay, I think he's asking how are your lines always so neat?
I guess having like a Cintiq really helps. Because like you it feels like drawing on paper because you're drawing straight on screen. But if you're doing like so I used to like use the Wacom Intuos 4, like I mentioned earlier, and that was a pain. Like that was like, it was very difficult for me to draw very like neat straight lines. That's why I like earlier on when I first started digital painting, digital art, I did more of like a painted kind of style, just because it's easier for me to do that with the Wacom. With the Intuos. and it's much harder for me to draw like very neat line art. Also, I guess like you can always just like rotate while you're drawing line art, just because there's like a certain angle that's comfortable for your hand to draw, especially when you're doing like straight lines. So if I guess like for example, if I'm doing like I don't know, like this kind of stroke, it's very easy for me to get like a very clean, sharp line. So if I wanted to do like this hat part and it's difficult for me, I'll just rotate it like this.
Right.
And I'll just do it like that. So it's like it's like a guaranteed like smooth line. I'll just keep rotating my canvas until I find like the right angle for my hand to like draw that same line, because I've trained my hand enough to draw that particular like angle very neatly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
so,
like
yeah.
the difference between like pushing and pulling the pencil around.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the tablet. Speaking of style, do you think it's better to have one style of drawing or several styles?
Yeah, this comes up a lot, I guess. Like something that I always think about as well by myself, just because it's like something that I'm trying to figure out for myself as well. But I guess to answer that question, I kind of mentioned this last week as well about if you're working in the studio and you're required to adapt to a certain style, then it's always good to have that knowledge, to have kind of like just like a library, just like a bank in your head about, of all the styles that you've done, that's so that you can adapt very easily. And it's always an advantage to be able to do that. But having your own style does have its advantages, just because if you have like an online presence, then people are going to remember you for your style. And it's always good to have like a distinct style that you're most comfortable with, that you always go to kind of call your own, I guess, just because, yeah, people like you for your style online.
Question around colors. Do you have a go-to color palette for characters? Like more warm leaning or cold?
Right. I feel like a lot of people have like a very distinct palette. Like if you look at their Instagrams, they have like either like they're like pastels or like they're very warm tone. I guess like for myself, like I don't think I have like that kind of I don't think I have like a very distinct palette, just because I enjoy colors a lot and I refuse to like pick one palette for my whole Instagram feed. And so I kind of like, I think the most consistent thing about it is that I like vibrant colors. And so, yeah, I guess that's the one thing that's like a consistent for me, is that I always use a lot of different kind of like variations, and just try different things.
Question in chat from Jason: are most people using a Wacom? I think you mentioned that that you were using before was a Wacom, and you're using the Wacom now.
Yeah, I've always used Wacom tablets, I guess, because that was like the only one that was like really popular, I guess, for me growing up. And so that's always been like, oh, like that's like the tablet to use. But I guess like nowadays there's a lot of like cheaper options if you don't have, I guess like if you don't have that money to spend, then there's a lot of other cheaper options. And even like you can draw like just as well on the iPad, and there's like a lot of like really good drawing programs as well on there. So if you can't draw, if you can't have a Cintiq, then just get an iPad or get something else that's cheaper.
Yeah, there are a lot more cheaper, more affordable options out there these days. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We have a mix of people using like Wacoms, and iPads are probably the most, and Surface, I think like Surface Pros as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more options than like 5 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty much just the Wacom was the way to go.
I think I've always wanted to have like a portable tablet that I can bring everywhere, but that wasn't the case like 10 years ago. So whenever I wanted to draw like digital art, I have to like sit down on my computer and kind of just like draw like properly. But like nowadays I can just like take my iPad and just like draw anywhere I want. Even when I'm traveling, I don't have to bring my computer and like everything that comes with it. And that's been really convenient. Come to think of it, like I haven't actually drawn in a sketchbook for like 2 years probably now. Like I've stopped drawing in my sketchbook just because I have my iPad, and like I treat my iPad as my sketchbook.
Right. Yeah. Then everything's digital, right? Like it's just all
digital. So how much time do we have left?
So we have, here's me doing bad math again. Less than 20 minutes, like 17 minutes, I would say, to be safe.
Okay. I guess with the blocking stage, it's pretty much just this, and I kind of just want to show how I do like the shadows and how I do highlights and things like that. Just as Cool. I feel like that's probably more interesting, just because with like color blocking, it's just the same thing. Like I'm just slowly going through all like the shapes and like coloring in. And I think you probably get an idea, like you've gotten a good idea of like my process. So yeah, I feel like I should probably move on. So that's the that's the finish. Yeah, that's the finished like color flats.
Nice.
For this character. And I've kind of like added this like a little bit of like highlight for like the hair and like a bit of like a blush for the face, and added like just like some small details on the like on her dress. But yeah, I would probably just go into how I shade. I used to kind of like pick out every individual color, and kind of like what I did last week is that I would like grab my color and like my lap sliders, and if I pick out a color and I would just darken it. That's what I used to do. But the faster way to do it is to just clip a layer and just pick out like a light-ish color. So for example, I want the shadow to be like, I don't know, maybe like this like beige color. And I would just color it and just set that to multiply. I feel like a lot of people do this, but I didn't used to do this. I guess when I first started out, I would just multiply it and just like start erasing.
So what layer are you working on now? Is it the face?
No, it's just like an overall layer.
On everything.
Like, yeah,
okay.
so yeah, and I've just clipped it. Like if I were to unclip it, it'll look like this.
Everything in the folder you're working on.
Yeah. Okay. So I've just kind of done like an overall shadow layer for everything.
Cool. So like rather than adding the shadows in, you're adding in the light, right? So you're painting in light. So you know the light source is coming from over here. You just added shadow to
I'm erasing,
painting it back.
Yeah. I'm just erasing like the parts of so if I were to unclip it, it'll look like this.
Yeah.
So I'm just using the eraser and just kind of like erasing parts like that. And I'll definitely clean this up once I kind of like have an idea of like how the light or like the shadows are going to look like. So I'm just gonna click that back on. So I've just kind of like done like a very rough pass of it, and I'll go back to my brush and I'll grab that same pencil pile brush and make sure that like I'm still in the same color, and kind of just go in and make sure that it looks right close up.
Right, so because it was flat, you did like one big quick stroke there, but because the nose has some depth to it and the mouse has some depth, you're just coming back in and adding the detail in, right?
Yeah. So I'm just like switching back and forth between my brush and my eraser. It's the same thing that I do when I'm doing like lineless art as well. Like I just do it this way, especially for characters.
And do you usually work with like one light source with character illustration?
Yeah. I guess for something like this, it's just one light source. Just depends on the style, I guess. This is not really like I don't know. This is not really like an illustration piece. It's more like just like a like a standard like character drawing. So I just wanted to kind of like get the shapes down and like get the colors down and everything, just so that I know what it looks like. If it's like a more illustrated with like backgrounds and like with lighting and everything, then it definitely wouldn't be just like one light source. But if it's like for the purpose of designing a character, then I feel like this is the easiest, just because you want to be able to see like the local colors a lot better. Like if you add a lot of fancy lighting to it, then you wouldn't be able to see it very clearly.
Right. Johanna's asking in chat, would you use multiple kinds of clipping masks to add in shadows / highlights, or keep it all on the same?
Yeah, I would definitely use a couple different ones. I'll show you after. I'm gonna add like a very kind of like big swipe of like highlight on a different layer with a different blending mode. But just for the shadow, it's just like this one.
What was the blending mode for the shadow? I think you did.
It was just multiply.
Just multiply. Okay. Cool.
It's just multiply. Cool. Sometimes I would do the opposite, and I would darken the base layer and then use a hard light blending mode to add in like the highlights. But again, it depends on like what kind of look that I'm trying to go for. For this one, it's just like a very like standard, I guess like character drawing. So I'm just using multiply. Like multiply and overlay is probably like the most that I use, and hard light, I guess, if I'm trying to do something more dramatic. But yeah, I don't know. It just really depends on kind of like what looks good. So I guess like at this stage, I would sometimes I would recolor some of the lines. Because sometimes black can look really harsh. So if you're trying to go for something a bit more soft, then I usually go for like a brown, like a dark brown or something, and then just keep certain parts black, just so it looks like where the shadow is like the most intense.
Right. So really minimal, kind of really sparingly use on full black, so that everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like that's how it looks when it's like just like a black line art, and that's how it looks with colored line art. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just kind of blends the whole thing a lot better. So usually I would go back to the shadow layer and then just kind of like lighten some parts or darken some parts. So for example, so this is the color that I've chosen for the shadow. I would go to my lap sliders and then just darken it a little bit and just do like I don't know, very like broad strokes.
Are you affecting
like
you're affecting everything at once there?
No, just like certain parts. So it's like, for example, like I want to darken like this, just like this edge of her dress, then I would just kind of like do that part, just make the shadow a little bit more intense. And if I go back to normal, that's how it looks like.
Right.
And then so I'll just keep it on multiply. And then I would probably just add another layer just below the shadow and set this maybe to overlay or something. And then pick out a light color. You can always adjust this later, but because I guess like at this point it's just like a lot of like color adjustments to just like kind of like find like the right color.
And this is just affecting that shadow that you added in, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Let you know we've got less than 10 minutes left, just as a bit of a idea of time. So maybe something like eight minutes left, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm almost done actually with this whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty much done actually.
Oh, cool. That's easy.
And yeah, wow. I don't know. That's how it looks. Ta-da!
Awesome. We'll have some time for some questions then, guys. So throw in a few more questions while we still have Yuri. Yeah. That's awesome.
So that's actually the one that I did last night. It looks slightly different from the one that I did. Like the shadow is like way more intense, but like that's okay. Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep it on this one. So yeah, ta-da! Well
awesome.
Done.
Well done.
So
that's so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jason, absolutely saying in chat, absolutely beautiful, Yuri. A pleasure to watch you work. Totally.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of minutes for questions, so we'll take some Q&A right here at the end. I'll just say it's been amazing watching you work. That was so cool. Absolutely love your color. Like it just all pops so amazingly well.
Thank you.
A question for Yuri from Selena. What is the most difficult part of character design?
I guess creating like an appealing character is probably the hardest. I feel like I know that it sounds like very generalized, like creating an appealing character, but like that's really true because I feel like you can design like anyone can design a character, but doing a character that appeals to you is difficult. So I feel like you have to take into consideration, like again, like going back to like the fundamentals of like the shapes and like how the colors interact, like the silhouette, like that all really plays a part into how appealing your character looks. Like appealing doesn't mean they have to look pretty. Like they can look ugly, but they're still appealing. So it's not necessarily having to create like, cutesy characters or like beautiful characters. It's more like, creating a character that's like alive, I guess. And going back to like what I mentioned previously as well, just like putting a little bit of yourself in your character and trying to find that kind of like essence of what is this character supposed to be is, I feel like, sometimes the most challenging part, because oftentimes, you just want to do like a pretty drawing, like, and that's okay too. But if it's like for the purpose of a story or for the purpose of animation, then you should definitely consider all those things that I've mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And do you ever write that sort of thing down, like write a list, like, this person's going to be happy and bubbly, or, this person's, do you ever like write a backstory or make notes or anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I, usually whenever I start a project or an assignment or whatever it is, like I would do like a mind map, just like have like my own little note of just like things, just like personality traits or like what they like, what they don't like, just like small things like that. I think it'll really help in the long run because you incorporate everything into the design, and you want to be able, like, you want people to instantly understand like what kind of a character it is. And I think that really signifies like if it's like whether it's a good design or a bad design. I know that character design is sometimes very subjective, but I feel like with in that regard, you can definitely tell if it's like a well-designed character because you can instantly relate to it. So yeah.
Cool. Brenda's saying, such lovely drawing. Love the colors and the style. Well done, Yori. This is amazing.
Thank you.
For sure. I'm going to ask, what's next for you? What's next on your plate? We don't have you on Adobe Live again for a while, so yeah, what's coming up next for you? What are you thinking about? What are you working on?
I guess like because I'm working right now up to like August. I'm still doing like I'm doing background paintings for this show, and it's like 5 days a week. But like other than that, I'm just kind of like having fun and kind of like, I don't know, just doing stuff for myself, I guess, like on Instagram, and it's just fun stuff. I'm very interested in doing like maybe a comic. That's something that I would be very interested to do, maybe like in the near future. Like I don't know, I've got some ideas in mind, and maybe I'll get to do that in my spare time once I finish this job. And yeah, I don't know, just like continue to develop my style and just continue to develop my skills because I still have a lot to learn. I still have to, I don't know. Yeah, just learn new things, I guess.
Oh, awesome. Well, absolutely. I mean, we're all learning. We never really stop learning, I don't think, personally. But yeah, let's come up. Let's be big. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody in chat for joining us today, and some fantastic questions in there. And also last week as well, if you caught the last session with Yori. If you didn't, jump over on YouTube is usually the best way to find our stuff from Adobe in Asia Pacific. So it's all there on YouTube. I think Johanna will share a link in chat for everybody to check it out. So if you missed last time, go and check it out because that was awesome too. I'm just going to quickly bring up our schedule because we have one more live stream this week. So here we are. I won't go through the whole thing because we've already done it all. But yeah, tomorrow, photo manipulation with Ramez Hari Krishnasamy, which will be heaps of fun. That's at 10:30 a.m. Sydney time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Very early for Ramez, but he's a trooper and he gets up and he sorts it out for us and then goes to work. He's amazing. Yori, thank you so much again. This has been fantastic getting to know you. Thank you for sharing so much of what you do and your amazing work with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Again, this was really fun. I was like really nervous initially, but this was a lot of fun. And thank you so much for everyone who sent in questions. And hopefully some of my answers would be kind of helpful for some of you. And hopefully I'll come back sometimes, I don't know, in the future.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you back on. And yeah, there were some fantastic answers and some really intelligent questions. So thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.